physicist, and some people ask me the question, what has physics done for me lately? Do I get better color television? Do I get better internet reception with physics? And the answer is yes. If you want to understand the future, you have to understand physics.
T-minus 90 seconds and counting. All systems are go. We're about 90 seconds. 7, 6, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station paving the way for future missions.
In the last 300 years, we have discovered the laws that govern the universe, in all but the most extreme conditions. I think there is a reasonable chance that we may find a complete set of laws by the end of the century if we don't blow ourselves up first.
You see, physics is at the very foundation of matter and energy. In other words, almost everything at some point or other can be traced to a physicist.
There's literally, maybe not a handful, but a few dozen people, scientists all, in the history of our planet, who have discovered everything important. And every other billions of the people have just glommed onto that, or else we would be sitting in rolled up balls of dirt and eating straw.
Yeah, that is accurate. If you read history books, you think civilization pivots on what conquerors did, or leaders, or politicians. And civilization, as we have come to know it and understand it, pivots on the work of singular people who have preceded us, that have changed the course of how we have interacted with the laws of nature.
Science is more than a body of knowledge. It's a way of thinking. We live in an age based on science and technology, and if we don't understand it, then who is making all the decisions about science and technology that are going to determine what kind of future our children live in?
When you realize what is possible technologically, culturally, it influences every other aspect of your life.
What is gene editing, or genome editing as it is also known, and how does it work? Let's start by talking about genes. These are sections of the long DNA molecules coiled up inside each cell of every living thing, from microorganisms and insects to plants and animals, including humans. Think of DNA as the instruction manual for an organism. In people, genes can influence characteristics such as your height and the color of your eyes. DNA is inherited from our parents. We have a combination of two sets of genes, one from each parent, brought together to produce a new set of instructions and reshuffled in each generation. But sometimes these instructions carry errors, and these can create problems. Faulty genes can cause serious illnesses. Humanity has a long history of figuring out ways to modify genes. We have been crossbreeding plants to make them better to eat for thousands of years. But with gene editing, we've made a great leap forward. This increasingly accurate new technology is faster to use, relatively simple, and cheap compared with previous methods, and promises huge benefits. In a nutshell, it works by identifying, then cutting pieces of DNA. One way of doing this uses a component known as CRISPR to pinpoint the precise DNA sequence within the gene to be altered. Then an enzyme called Cas9 snips through the DNA, changing it or allowing it to be replaced by another stretch of DNA that is introduced at the same time. This can either replace a faulty gene with a healthy one or change a gene to make it behave differently. The methods act like a find and replace for the genetic instruction manual. By making these microscopic changes to DNA, gene editing has the potential to make big changes to our lives. Gene editing is already transforming genetic research. But at this early stage of such a powerful technology, it's crucial that we weigh the potential benefits against the possible negatives. First, let's look at the positives. Gene editing could make radical improvements to human health. For example, in 2015, doctors used genome editing techniques to cure a baby girl's leukemia. In the future, we may be able to fix the gene mutations that predispose some people to cancer, or enable new therapies for HIV, or edit the genes that cause hereditary diseases. In the plant world, it could make crops more nutritious, disease-resistant, and able to grow in difficult conditions. By editing animals' genes, we could help them resist diseases. Scientists are currently working to edit the genes of mosquitoes to prevent them from carrying malaria. So genome editing has enormous positive potential. But what about possible downsides? Genes could be edited in early human embryos to alter characteristics such as eye colour that have no bearing on health. This raises the possibility of designer babies. And changing an embryo's DNA would not only affect the child, but their descendants too. These same techniques could also be used to create designer pets, or develop more virulent microbial diseases. So, alongside the many benefits of genome editing, there are also some ethical and societal concerns to consider. The technology is already in our hands. Now's the time to debate how we use it, regulate it, avoid negative uses, and unlock its potential to provide life-changing solutions to some of the world's biggest challenges.
Electromagnetic radiation covers a broad spectrum of wavelengths and includes sunlight, which is vital to life on Earth. The waves have different uses according to their energy. Radio waves enable us to communicate and share information. Microwaves cook our food. Infrared radiation warms us. Visible light illuminates our lives and is essential for food production. Ultraviolet radiation gives us suntans and bone-strengthening vitamin D. X-rays enable us to diagnose and treat illnesses and to check our luggage. And gamma rays are used to sterilize medical equipment. Irradiation using X-rays and gamma rays can also be used to treat food. By choosing the right wavelength and dosage, these rays can prevent sprouting of vegetables like potatoes, maintain their freshness and taste, and destroy harmful bacteria that could be present in spices, meat, or seafood. They also can rid fresh fruits and vegetables of insects that might otherwise hitchhike, spreading to other regions of the world, where they could have devastating effects on the environment and agriculture. Food irradiation involves shining electromagnetic rays or beams of electrons onto food. The energy is transferred at an intensity necessary to give the desired effect. It is a cold process, so spices retain their unique flavors and aromas that would be diminished by heating. It also avoids reliance on chemical methods, such as fumigation or pesticides, to combat bacteria, insects, or other spoilage organisms. In addition, those irradiation beams pass through packaging, so the food remains protected from bacteria or insects after treatment and will remain fresh longer. Food irradiation offers a chemical-free and heat-free approach. It maintains fresh food quality, reduces the risk of foodborne diseases, and prevents the spread of exotic insects through globalized trade.
sure you know that yogurt comes from milk, but did you know that bacteria are also a key ingredient? Yes, bacteria. But don't worry, these are good bacteria and are often called probiotics. Your gut has thousands of types of bacteria happily living inside, whose job it is to aid digestion. Yogurt is thought to be a good vehicle to bring more of these good bacteria in. So in this video, we're going to learn a bit more about how yogurt is made. First, we need milk. Before we start the next steps, all of our equipment needs to be sterilized to kill off any unwanted bacteria and other microorganisms. Now we are ready to start. The milk is heated to somewhere between 85 and 95 degrees Celsius for between 15 and 30 minutes. This is a process called pasteurization and is also done to kill off any bacteria and other microorganisms that are naturally found in the milk. The milk is then homogenized. This breaks down the fat droplets in milk to make them smaller so that they stay suspended in the yogurt, rather than sinking and making it all lumpy. So we've sterilized our equipment, then pasteurized and homogenized the milk. Now the mixture is cooled to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius and we add our special yogurt making bacteria. The mixture needs to be cooled first so that the bacteria aren't killed by the high temperature. You might be wondering why on earth are we adding bacteria when we've gone to all the effort so far of killing all the bacteria. We're adding lactic acid bacteria, which are also used in cheese manufacturing. The two species used to make yogurt are lactobacilli and streptococci. But don't worry, you don't need to learn these names. Just remember that lactic acid bacteria are added. These lactic acid bacteria are known as the starter culture. The bacteria ferment the milk and change it into yogurt. Lactose is the main sugar in milk, and during fermentation the bacteria turn the lactose into lactic acid. The bacteria also start to digest the milk proteins. Fermentation takes many hours, and during this time the mixture is kept at the optimum temperature of 40 to 45 degrees Celsius so that the bacteria can work its fastest. As fermentation produces lactic acid, type of acid, the pH of the milk drops to about pH 4.4. This is why natural yogurt has a sharp, tangy taste. As the pH levels drop, the milk solidifies to become raw yogurt. Once the pH drops to a low, the lactic acid bacteria that make the yogurt also stop working, so the yogurt doesn't become too solid. The pH drop also stops any bad bacteria growing. The solidification happens because the proteins begin to coagulate. Coagulation is when something which is liquid turns into a more solid state. So we've sterilized our equipment, then pasteurized and homogenized the milk. Add lactic acid bacteria so fermentation happens and then coagulation. The mixture is now stirred and cooled to 5 degrees Celsius and we've made natural unflavored yogurt. At this stage we can add flavorings and fruit. Now it's ready to be packaged and sold. Delicious! Can you match the words to the definitions of the different stages of the yogurt making process? Pause the video and give it a go. Did you get them right? Now what about completing the missing words? Again, pause the video and work them out. Did you get them right? So there we have the process of yogurt making. From milk to a tasty strawberry flavored yogurt.
If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Comment below if you have any questions. Why not check out our Fusco app as well? Until next time.
In this video, we're going to consider the advantages and the disadvantages to waste incineration. What do you think are the advantages of burning waste instead of committing it to landfill? Pause the video and continue when you have an idea or some ideas. If the waste is not burned, then it is likely to end up in a landfill site, which is considered to be the least environmentally friendly option. Incineration could result in a reduction in waste volume of around 90%, and this could be particularly important for small cities where space is scarce and landfill is not an option. Odours and rodents that are present in other methods are not a problem when using incineration as a garbage disposal method. Nearly all of the waste that is burned could be used to generate electricity in what is called energy from waste schemes, where households and industries could benefit from the electricity or heat produced. The electricity generated could help to pay for the start-up cost of the incinerator. Additionally, the steam produced from incineration presents itself as a cost-saving energy source if recycled. Ash produced from these incinerators could be used in the construction and road building industries. In addition, metals could be extracted from the ash, and they could also be used in steel industries. The key advantage, however, is that the production of electricity and thermal energy from waste enables us to conserve conventional sources of energy, such as fossil fuels. Now, what about the disadvantages of incineration? Again, pause the video and think about what these could be. Resume when you have an idea or some ideas. The main disadvantage surrounds potential pollutants found in the ash left in the incinerator and those that could be emitted from the chimney. These include dioxins, acid gases, nitrogen oxide, heavy metals and particulates. As you may have heard from other videos, these are airborne particles which are small enough to get into the lungs of humans. They cause and aggravate respiratory problems such as asthma. However, it is the dioxins resulting from incomplete combustion contained in the gases from the chimneys that attract the most concern. This is because they are suspected of causing cancer. In addition, these emissions could be distributed through the food chains and accumulate over a long period of time, impacting on both ecosystems and human health. As a result, many people are opposed to having incinerators built in or near their communities. Another disadvantage is the initial start-up cost to build a waste incinerator for the production of electricity, and may not be seen as a viable alternative, where cheaper waste disposal methods exist. Once built, the maintenance of the machinery could be costly. The biggest disadvantage, however, is that if waste is incinerated without first being sorted, this means we are incinerating waste that could have been recycled. So, in summary, incineration of waste presents numerous advantages. 1. The energy is used to heat or to produce electricity for homes and industry. 2. This method reduces the need for fossil fuel consumption. 3. The ash produced can be recycled for metals used in the steel industry. And finally, 4. This method reduces the volume of waste produced. There are also disadvantages. 1. Incinerators are expensive to build and maintain. 2. Pollutants in the ash and emissions from incinerators are harmful to health and ecosystems. And finally, 3. Waste that could be recycled will instead be incinerated if not properly sorted.